Hello and welcome to my video. You can't see me because I'm recording this from the cave I live in. It's very dark and cold here. Obviously, my cave has no TV or internet connection, so I don't know much about what's going on in the world. However, the postman sometimes finds my cave and brings me some newspapers, which have usually got old by that time. From those papers I learn a lot about my favorite thing in the world, obscure movies. So, let's get straight to my review of the top 10 films you shouldn't really waste your time on. To start things off, let's look at Blood Rain by Uwe Boll, or almost any other movie by Uwe Boll for that matter. Mr. Boll is a German director and producer who is notorious for adapting popular video game plots for the big screen. This particular film is based on a video game of the same name that came out in 2002 and was pretty popular at that time. As for the film, with a $25 million budget, it came out as a total flop. It did, however, succeed in collecting a number of Golden Raspberry Awards, including the awards for the Worst Picture, the Worst Actress, Christiane Larkin, and the Worst Supporting Actor, Ben Kingsley. Alright, now that we have got Uwe Boll and his minions out of our way, we can look at better movies, right? Alright, just kidding. We're going to look at Die Hard Dracula instead. Yeah, that's the actual title of this 1998 abomination by Peter Horak. Starring Bruce Glover, this movie tells us a chilling story about some random guy called Steven and his girlfriend who gets kidnapped by Dracula. Steven joins forces with none other but Van Helsing, and together they execute a number of plans to kill Dracula. None of them work though, just like this movie. On to the next one, which is Simon Says, a 1999 comedy action by Kevin Elders. The movie tells us the story of an Interpol agent who helps his old classmate find his kidnapped daughter. The main role is played by Dennis Rodman, because nobody can give a more realistic impression of an Interpol agent than a huge tattooed African American with dyed hair and pierced ears. The camera work is awful. It feels like the cameraman has a seizure every time something happens in the scene. The comedy is really dumb, but not idiotic enough to be actually funny. The plot is virtually non-existent, rendering this film into an hour and a half of nonsense. Speaking of nonsense, I can't but mention Birdemic, Shock and Terror, a 2010 horror catastrophe by James Nguyen, starring even less well-known people. Remember the Birds by Hitchcock? Well, forget it. Here we get a bland story where random birds attack random people for random reasons, with sad people displaying very questionable emotions in the process. Perhaps the most scary scene of the movie is the date between the two main characters, which looks more like a job interview or maybe an FBI interrogation. Shock and terror indeed. Continuing with the terror topic, I need to mention Uli Lommel's 2004 horror movie called Zombie Nation. In this film, starring Gunther Ziegler, Brandon Dean and Axel Montgomery, a psycho cop who has a habit of killing his female arrests gets confronted by crowds of his victims in zombie form. The acting is quite laughable in this one. The same can be said about the makeup. It looks like the only thing that distinguishes a zombie from a human being is a little bit of eyeliner. The credits, shown at the very beginning, take up almost 20 minutes and are quite probably the best part of Zombie Nation. But enough with the zombies. We've got Santa Claus coming up. Not just Santa, but Santa with muscles. The main role in this 1996 comedy is played by Hulk Hogan, who portrays an evil rich guy who gets amnesia and believes he's Santa Claus. Yeah, apparently amnesia now comes with added bonuses. Anyway, the movie mostly consists of Hulk Hogan beating up random bad guys, all while wearing a Santa Claus outfit. Isn't that cute? Well, I guess not. Now, let's go from Santa to Satan. The Touch of Satan is a horror film directed by Don Henderson in 1971. It tells us a touching story about a man called Jody, who falls in love with Melissa, a girl that people consider a witch. Jody doesn't believe the rumors. However, after numerous scenes of murder, curses, and selling one's soul to Satan, he finds out they're actually true. The ending is hilariously bad. Basically, everybody either dies or suffers from some curse, with the story actually going nowhere. The concept of devil worshipping seems to be quite popular with people who tend to shoot bad movies. Please welcome our next title on the list, Manus, The Hands of Fate. This movie by Harold Warren revolves around a small secret cult that worships an evil deity called Manus. A family of 3 occasionally stumbles upon this cult, gets hypnotized by the master, and that's it. The film goes on for 70 minutes, yet nothing really happens over the course of it, except for some really bad acting which would make Hulk Hogan look like a genius. Quite a torture to watch if you ask me. But on to the real torture. Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space is so terrible that it easily surpasses all the aforementioned movies. Released in 1959, this film tries to tell us something about aliens, zombies and apparently a war in space, but fails miserably. It's no easy feat to understand at least a fraction of what's going on in this super low budget piece of cinematography, let alone the logic that was behind it. Some movies are so bad they're boring, some are so bad they're funny. This one is so bad it's legendary. Enough said. Finally, another movie with zombies. Or at least a guy who doesn't need a makeup artist to look like one. I mean, just compare these two. Anyway, The Room by Tommy Wiseau, who also plays the main role, is quite probably the worst movie ever made. Representing a tragic story of a love triangle, betrayal and ultimate suicide, The Room is so full of loose ends and illogical plot twists that it looks more like a bad comedy. Moreover, it looks like some of the lines in the dialogues have been mixed up. It's also a proven fact that most of the cast had had little to no acting experience by the time of shooting the film, and some of them, including Julia Daniel, who plays the protagonist's girlfriend, were last-minute replacements. I simply can't comprehend the purpose of shooting this movie, but who am I kidding? I'm just jealous, because Tommy Wiseau could spend $6 million on this garbage, while I live in a cold and dark cave. Thanks for watching.